But I'll tell you what, Big Sills, I think these problems are bigger on this team. I think these problems are bigger than problems that you look at and say, okay, we can fix that by the end, or we can we can get this right by week 10 and make a run in the playoff.
Isolate the problems, though, because I do think not all the problems are equal here. I do think that availability has a lot to do with the talent on the offensive side. Now, Zander, here's the one thing that I am with Hurts. I was never a guy that thought he could carry a team.
No,
some of the people are shocked when they see he can't do it. That's why, for me, when the guys are out, I tell you flat out, that's not a player that's going to elevate other players around him. He doesn't do it. What would make me think now all of a sudden that I'm disappointed in something I've been saying for 4 years? I've never thought he was a guy that could elevate Paris Campbell. He's not elevating Paris Campbell. He's not elevating Jahan Dotson. He's not doing any of that. It's not who he is. He needs star players around him like Dak Prescott, like Brock Purdy, like some of these other guys do, because he's not good enough.
Yeah, but Sills, I wonder if, and this is going to be a crazy comment, but I wonder if even you're overrating the quarter. I mean, dude, Sills, you tell us all the time, Jalen's not an elite quarterback. Jalen, is more of a system guy.
Can't read a defense.
Sills, we are not talking about not elevating people. We are talking about the offense bottoming out. The bottom falls out from under them when they lose one wide receiver.
Why do you think I goof on him by saying Tyrod Hurts sometimes? I mean, I've been talking this way for 4 years.
I'll tell you what, there's a lot of people.
He's a really good player. Is he a guy who is an elite? And people, let me tell you this, that Super Bowl appearance, no doubt about it, has jaded people's opinions, just like it did with Garoppolo, like it did with all the guys who have gone to the Super Bowl, like Rex Grossman, or people like that in the past. It's a hat hanger. But at the end of the day, when you look at him, do you look at Jalen Hurts and go, that guy, without talent around him, can carry my football team for an elevated period of time in games? He did in the fourth quarter against the Saints. It was a great comeback. Can he do it for 60 minutes? Obviously, today that was on display. He was terrible. Baker Mayfield was 10 times the quarterback he was today.
Baker Mayfield they weren't even in the same league today. Baker Mayfield showed Jalen Hurts up.
Geno Smith is playing him right now.
Still, there's a lot of quarterbacks in the league that are outplaying Jalen Hurts right now. A lot. Jalen Hurts, you could make an argument Jalen Hurts hasn't been a top 20 quarterback in the NFL this year.
Do you remember the topic we did when I said that Baker Mayfield, who you taking in this game? And I did it during the week, and I showed you the numbers, that he had outplayed him in the last, since December 6th of last year, he's outplayed him. Guess what? Now he's 2-1 versus him. He's got a playoff win. In the last 2 games Baker Mayfield has played against Jalen Hurts, he's annihilated him. Now, is this the second game in a row he's put plus 30 points on the Bucs, or on the Bucs that put plus 30 on the Eagles? Here's something else that was disappointing. When I watched the playoff game and I watched today, there was nothing different. It was the same shit. Nothing looked different or changed from 23. People get on me for referencing 23. Did you see anything different today from 2023?
I think it's gotten worse.
Okay.
I think it's gotten worse.
His play?
I don't think he's elevating anybody. I think when other guys go out, the team almost doesn't even believe he's going to lift them up anymore. Dan, give me another reason. A team, forget having, all right, I get it. You're not going to have maybe you're going to lose this game no matter what. When you talk about not having A.J. Brown, Devontae, I get it. Maybe you'll lose this game no matter what. You're down 24-0, and you have 0 yards. The team didn't even look like they got off the bus.
Absolutely.
They didn't even look like they got off the bus.
Did you hear Brady?
I love to point at the coaches, but we should also point at the players who are supposed to be the leaders.
Did you hear 2 criticisms of Hurts that Brady had for him? Late in the game, he's like, I'd like to see more of a sense of urgency out of him. And how many times did he criticize his pocket presence? He goes, he just doesn't have a feel for it.
Doesn't have any feel.
How can you be a $50 million elite quarterback and not have a feel for the pocket?
He was bad today. I mean, Baker Mayfield.
Today?
We talked about. Yeah, no, you're right. This is becoming a bigger
Since
trend.
2023 to start.
And the worry is, if you're a real Eagle fan and you zoom out and you analyze this, what Dan said about 22 in the past on his show is now looking more correct. That was the one of season. Everything else, 23 so far this year, before everything else is now looking like what's been more consistent. 22 was a one of season. You know, that's the brutal truth of where we're at right now.
He's 3-8 in the last 11 games.
What was that?
He's 3-8 in the last 11 games.
Yeah, and he's been brutal in those last 11 games. And by the way, he's second in the league in turnovers right now. I think he's behind only Will Levis. I mean, we're talking about the Will Levis conversation with our quarterback. 7 turnovers, or what is he up to? 8 turnovers now, or 7 or 8? I mean,
he's got 27. Brutal. He's got 27 since the start of 23, which is the number 1 number in the NFL.
Yep, and he's got 7 this year through 4 games, and he really should have. He should have had a couple more today. He had
should have been a pick 6 today.
Could have been a pick. Could have been a couple pick 6s, and he had another fumble that the Eagles recovered. So the turnovers are a major problem, and it's just I don't know. I'm going back and forth on Jalen because part of me wants to believe. I seen it with my own eyes. I watched him lead us to a Super Bowl. I watched him play unbelievable football, and every bit of me doesn't want to believe he's not that good.
Zander, let me ask you
one. The more that unfolds, you see, maybe he's not that good.
How do you know he's not a one-year wonder?
That's where I just went with. You've been saying that for years. 22 was a one of. 22 was a one of.
It just looks it.
It really does.
I mean, he has moments where he's really good, and he has stretches where he's awful. And he's in stretches.
You said it today on the broadcast. You can't be an elite quarterback and have that many negative plays. It just kills your team. You're never going to win big games in the NFL by having negative plays.
Right. You're never going to create momentum in a game when you're doing that stuff.
What was your thoughts on the game plan today with Vic?
I thought the game plan never got a chance to get going. I think the game plan never got a chance to get going. I think what they did was by throwing the ball immediately. I mean, Barkley is your home run hitter. You should have did everything. And they were so afraid. And get this, what happened in the first series? 3 and out. The ultimate thing you didn't want to have happen. And what did the Bucs do? The Bucs look like the 2022 Philadelphia Eagles. And the Eagles look like right now the Buccaneers of last year, early in the year, where they went right down the field on them. The Bucs had 2 opening drives that just annihilated the defense. And the Eagles had 3 and outs. I told everyone the worst thing you can have for that team is to have 3 and outs. And let's do this. I get the receivers are out, but to everyone's and then the running and then the offensive lineman being out. What did I expect? I expected a shitload of Barkley. How many carries did he have in that game, Zander?
Well, here's the one thing I will say about the Barkley stuff, because I do think, how do you not go to him more? Once they went down 14, though, in the blink of an eye, Eagles had 3 offensive plays at that point. You're already down 14. You can't even think about getting into the game with a running back anymore because you're not playing from behind, right? So I think that's part of it.
But you're not, Zander, going to get into a football game with Paris Campbell and Jahan Dotson. You're not I'm getting back into a game with Barkley, and you're right. Get this. It may be a slow death, but you're going to start because you're going to start panicking because, like you said, you're behind. So get what the Bucs did. What a game plan the Bucs did with Todd Bowles. Get a lead on them, make them have to throw the ball. They can't beat us. That's exactly what happened. Because Barkley was theoretically nullified. To your point, Barkley was theoretically nullified just in the personnel they had on the field.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Thanks to Janelle Lauren. So let's run through a couple super chats.
Hey, Prince, is that true? They had 9 sacks today? Holy shit.
I thought it was 6 sacks today. 6 sacks. I thought 6 sacks today.
Okay, 6 sacks.
Let's run through a couple super chat sales. We're going to get your final thoughts here. I will stay on for a post-game show. So if you're on the chat and you want to join me, please put it in the chat now so I know and can make sure that I have a couple people that are ready to join. I'm not going to do it as long today, so we'll keep it rapid fire. Akbar, if you're in here, I'll bring you up, obviously. So just let me know in the chat. I'd also like to get a couple new names. We had a couple new guys last week. Des the Hebrew was in. Rashid Mixon was in. We had a couple great guys last week. So if you want to join, please let me know. I'd like to get a few new guys in as well on the channel. Won't run through. Janelle, thank you for becoming a member. Janelle Lorman becomes a member.
Thank you, Janelle.
No Saquon jersey giveaway this week, but hopefully one for you next week. And just thank you for your support of the channel. And then I also want to give a shout while I'm talking about members to Terry Hayes and to Lucius. I'm not sure if Lucius is in here, but both of those two guys were our first two JAKIB Legend members. And we have an awesome thing in the works here at JAKIB that we're going to do for those two guys. So Terry and Lucius, please reach out to me. I'll reach out to you as well, and I'll catch you in the chat. We have something great to offer you guys for contributing to the program. So thank you very much. Let's run through a couple super chats here, Big Sills. Brian Pumper checks in. Zander, please tell me there is out on Hurts contract. Please, we need Cam Ward.
No.
Pumper, no way. No out in that contract. There's also a no trade clause. If you're talking about moving on from Jalen Hurts, you're talking about $100 million plus line of $100 million dead cap hit. So it's just not
married
happening.
To this guy like he is royalty. You aren't going anywhere with him. This is your boy. This is the guy you signed after one season, 17 ball games. I told you jumped the gun on him at the day when you signed him. Okay, now you're stuck with his ass. You got to make it work.
Brutal, just brutal. Let's keep going. Prince checks in. So the defense gave up 33 points, and it's Jalen. Shut the F up. It was a dumb game plan. It was the same as last year, but it's Jalen. Come on, Prince. Look, and I understand this line of thinking, because it's Jalen can't play defense too. But Prince, how many excuses are you going to make where our offense is just underperforming, man? They haven't been good. Even in our wins, they put up 18 and 21 points.
So
the offense just hasn't been good.
If AJ's out and Devontae's out, Prince gives him a pass.
It's a nothing burger. It's a nothing burger. It's a nothing burger.
Suck. And then guess what he does? He rolls over and says, lack of talent. And on top of that, game plan. Here we are again. So Kellen sucked. Game plan? Another coach, huh? So this guy's going to get another coordinator fired? Hey, dog, after eventually, Prince, don't you look at it and go, it's the quarterback? How many coordinators is it going to be, Prince? That's an excuse. He doesn't. AJ's not in.
I'm with you.
He don't play well.
Big shout out to Janelle. Dropped in a super chat for 20. Said Angelo Cataldi was right, and Janelle dropped
tomorrow,
in again.
By the way, Angelo's on tomorrow at 3:30.
So the big show tomorrow on the National Football Show from 2 to 6 p.m. Should be a great day on the channel recapping this. I mean, from a content perspective, so we got a lot to talk about with a bye week coming up because this team's got a lot of problems. So let's keep running through a couple of these. Prince says again, so in the last 20 years, there have only been two quarterbacks who elevated their receiving core, Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady.
That's
Prince,
not true.
Come on, man. There's more in the league right now.
Look at Jordan Love in what he's doing now in Green Bay. Okay? There's not superstar wide receivers up there. What the fuck is Josh Allen doing in Buffalo right now with the no wide receiving core? Hey, dude, end of the day, Jalen Hurts doesn't make anybody better around him, and it was exposed again today. If he doesn't have top flight A-plus receivers, he stinks. Hey, Zander, you have a quarterback who makes $50 million, who stinks. Basically this, you know who you have? You have Baker Mayfield. Because if Mayfield has Godwin and Mike Evans, he's fabulous. You take those receivers away from him, he stinks. So you have Baker Mayfield. I told you on Friday, Hurts is closer to Mayfield than he is to those elite guys like Josh Allen.
It's true. It's true, Prince. I'm sorry. I just can't agree with you, man. There's guys in the league right now who are elevated.
He thinks that guy's Josh Allen. He ain't.
No, he's not. There's no doubt about that. So Prince keeps checking in there. I do want to get to him because, he's supporting the show. Prince says, you guys don't understand how difficult this I agree with, with some of the tackling, but Sills is a defensive guy, Prince, so it's going to be hard to get it by him. He says, you don't understand how difficult it is to play off that far, and they expect you to make an open field tackle coming in at full speed. That's Fangio, Sills. He's got these dudes playing so far off, and then every fan gets mad at them for not making a tackle. They're not even in position to tackle some of these athletes. It's a fair point. I get it. They still got to make the play, but
let me address. Look at what Prince just wrote here. Well, that goes back to your general manager not having open field tacklers on your team. If you know you're hiring a coach that does that style of play, that's on your ass to fuel that team and to stockpile that team with players that know how to tackle in open space and open field. You don't have any of it, including Sidney Brown. You have none of that. They are the worst tackling football team. You know why, Zander? The linebackers are trash cans. The guy you got from the Jets is a trash can. Smith is a trash can.
That dude is a joke. Bryce Huff is a joke.
They're trying to sit here and trying to justify it's Fangio when you didn't tool the team with proper product.
I'll tell you what, Sills, this fan base is getting a little bit more fed up on the quarterback. Now, look, I just know JAKIB Nation, right? I do this all day. This is my sandbox of Eagles fans, all of our great supporters. So I go off of what the fan base is feeling based on what I read on JAKIB. I don't think we've ever gotten super chats to the tune of Jalen Hurts out on, this guy's out on Hurts. This dude's out on Hurts. This dude's out on Hurts. This dude's out on Hurts. Out on Hurts. Out on Hurts. I mean, the fan base is now turning on Jalen Hurts. Is it justified, Sills?
It's like they're waking up. And look, I say this all the time, and I know many of you think that I want to be right. No, I'd rather be wrong because I'm not rooting for players not to be successful. But at the end of the day, I never thought he was an elite guy. And so I'm not surprised that they've caught up and the league's caught up with him. And that, get this, no matter how much talent you put around him. And I think the problem that people are having in Philly, you're putting all this talent around him. You're bringing all these coordinators in. You're changing all these plans. And they're having no impact. It's not having any impact. He still looks like 23. I tried to tell you guys that this was going to be the end result. You know what was going to be the end result of? Carson Wentz. This is what you're looking at. He's being coached the same way. Zander, they should have left that guy's ass alone from 22 and expanded off the 22 talent level instead of trying to recreate something he's not. And what's happened is you've confused him. Tell me Jalen Hurts doesn't look confused right now as a player out there. It doesn't look like he knows what he's doing. You mean to tell me you take one player off the damn thing and you can't put a spare tire on? You can't. How about this? Maybe not win, but look halfway functional?
I know. No, you're right.
This thing doesn't even look functional.
Sills, I wonder if there's a human element that might start coming into this as well. Like, is Jalen going to lose some confidence here?
You don't lose confidence when you're making $50 million and getting wired deposited money every Tuesday. What he'll do is he'll go to the owner, and guess what? Just like the lack of accountability he has, he'll start firing other people, and they'll get a new head coach, they'll get a new coordinator, and guys like Prince can sit there and fucking throw people under the bus and go, well, it wasn't Jalen, it was the coordinator. That's what he'll end up doing.
No, that's where you and John McMullen agree that, it's players first. And by the way, I'll remind everybody right now, the Washington Commanders are up 24-7 over the Cardinals. Now, it's early in the year. But
excuse me, who picked the Washington Commanders to win the NFC East?
That'd be big Sills.
And how about this? Come Monday, Prince, the Commanders are going to be in first place, sole first place in the NFC East. And Jaden Daniels with Brian Johnson and Cliff Kingsbury.
24-7. They are up.
Are killing it.
Yep, and as Sileo mentions, the scapegoat of last year, and this is where we have to be honest with ourselves as fans. The scapegoat of last year was that Brian Johnson couldn't sniff anyone's jock strap, and he wasn't good enough to be an NFL coach. Now he's the quarterback coach back in Washington, and Jaden Daniels looks like this year's CJ Stroud. The guy is on fire. He's having another great game. So we're in trouble here with this team. I think there's some big problems, and we'll address them. I'll do the post-game show coming up next. Big Sills, I'm going to let you get out of here. I just want to get your final thoughts. You had some good thoughts in the open before we came on the show, before we went live, and I joined in, and I'm an Eagle fan, and I'm all pissed off, and I'm like, what the F was that? And you're like, hey, man, listen, you're 2-2 going into the bye, and there's some injuries. What's your final takeaways on this game? Is it an overreaction where we are right now? Do you see problems that we won't be able to fix? Where's your mind, your head going into the bye week for this team?
I think you're in a good place. 2-2 going into the bye.
I don't know what the
I don't know what the fuck people thought this thing was going to look like. You were going to be some sort of superstar football team with all these new changes and all these new faces and all these new coordinators. The problems that you had were elevated last year with the new coordinators. You know what happened? It was just in reverse, and you got out to a great start. Instead, you finished like you're starting right now. Who knows? You may finish strong towards the end of this year, and it may be a complete reverse of what happened. When I look at the football team today, my biggest disappointment is, hey, the offense, I kind of got it. All the players missing. You got new faces in the huddle, like Brady said today. The confidence level's not there. Half the old line. Actually, there was only one player left in his natural position in that offensive line by the end of the game. And so you're like, you kind of get it. No excuses. I'm not an excuse guy, but the defense not to get off the bus. I mean, that entire unit should be on a milk carton because they were SOS. And the two tackles, I was exceptionally disappointed. I really love it, our fan base, when they come to me and they go, Sills, how about Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis now? And I say this, well, let's see them do it 2 games in a row. Once again, they can't. And once again, get this, that's the walk of shame to your locker. And that's the walk of shame to the bus when you get on the bus after putting something like that up. That has to be the most disappointing loss and most disappointing effort in 4 years or whatever it is for Nick Sirianni, because they were not engaged. There wasn't a sense of urgency. The quarterback looked like shit again as a leader. The sideline was not coherent. The players were all over the place. My opinion, I'll tell you what, that bye, they were looking to get to the bye. They weren't looking to try to win a football game. In my opinion, that was an effort, lack thereof, and that was also an absolute atrocious effort by the quarterback, in my opinion. Am I shocked? No, because I never thought he could elevate anybody.
So Sileo starts that comment with, "You're in a good place." And then he ends it just reaming this football team to shreds from top to bottom.
You're 2-2 in a shitty NFC.
No,
you're in a position where, get this, Sills, what team in the NFC are you afraid of? Nobody. I'm not afraid of anybody in the NFC.
Look, Sills, it's still early, man. There's some teams in the NFC that are finding some rhythm. Even that Bucs team. Look, I don't fear them. You're right. But if that team gets hot on any given day and Todd Bowles dials up the right game plan, that team can beat anybody.
He's such a good coach.
The Falcons are looking better. Kirk Cousins is now looking better. The Saints got back to form. Now, they lost today, but they looked a little bit better today. The Niners are going to start winning. Detroit's still out there. I mean, shit, we just talked about it. The Washington Commanders are now a football team. They might be 3-1 after today. They're up 24-7. I mean, I get it. The NFC is maybe not that great, but that doesn't mean you can just get in. You can just skate by and get in.
No, we'll see what happens after the bye. Hey, how about this? One thing is for sure. The Philadelphia Eagles, it's good the bye's here, but what happened there with a media like us? Hoss, you got 2 weeks getting your ass kicked, Nick. If I were Nick, I would walk around on my knees because the Bullets are at high level right now.
Yeah. Get them windows tinted up and at a little, go down to 5% or 3%. If you're up at 10%.
Jalen Hurts too, man. You got accountability in this too here, homie.
Yeah, and look, like I just said, I'm seeing a bigger pulse on the, like I said, I just speak about JAKIB Nation because that's who I communicate with about this team. And we've always had our fair share of very knowledgeable listeners, and they've always fallen on multiple sides of the spectrum, sides of the aisle when it comes to this stuff. I'm seeing a lot more, against him, and I wonder if the tide is going to start to turn, like it's similar to how it did on, dare I say, Carson Wentz, but that's how it did. Sileo, great show today, man. Looking forward to 2 to 6 tomorrow with the National Football Show. Something tells me that's going to be one of your best shows ever in 4 years on JAKIB Sports.
Oh my God. Mr. Filibuster allowed me to talk today, so I was really happy that.
I'm happy. You put on your big boy pants and you stepped in when you needed.
Yeah, I had to, or guess what? My bill would have been not passed here. So Monday, 2 to 6 Eastern. I can't wait for all of you, especially you, Princess. I can't wait for you guys. Zander, First 365 ought to be good. I love our fan base. You guys were great today. I appreciate you having me, brother.
Sileo, good stuff, man. Let's get to our commercial break. I'll come back. I'll run through some super chats with the great people here on JAKIB Sports. Any more of them, please drop them in there. I'm going to get to all of them after the break, and we'll do our post-game show segment, and I'll bring on a few of I don't have as long tonight, but I will give you guys at least 25, 30 minutes on that. Sileo, good stuff, man. Stay tuned, everybody. The JAKIB post-game show will be right back in 3 minutes.